The sun was going down, painting the sky with orange and pink colors. Keanu Reeves walked through the big Los Angeles airport, his hands tucked inside his coat pockets. Unlike most famous people, he didn't have bodyguards or assistants following him. He didn't need a private jet. He liked flying on regular planes with normal people. For Keanu, life was about being a person just like everyone else. Tonight, he was flying from Los Angeles to New York for some important charity meetings. He wasn't expecting anything special to happen. But fate had other plans. And it all started with a glass of juice. Keanu had a nice ticket for business class on Skyway Airlines, a fancy airline known for treating passengers well. He found his seat by the window, got comfortable, and pulled out a small book to read. People were still getting on the plane. Even though Keanu was very famous, he had a special way of blending in. He didn't act like a big star or demand special treatment. To most people, he just looked like another quiet traveler. And that was exactly how he wanted it. As the plane rolled onto the runway, Keanu started feeling thirsty. He pressed a little button to call a flight attendant. A lady with blonde hair walked up to him. She wore the airline's navy blue uniform, and her name tag said Olivia. She didn't look very happy. "Yes, sir?" she asked, sounding impatient. Keanu gave her a kind smile. "Hey, I'd love a glass of orange juice if that's possible." Olivia sighed, rolling her eyes a little. "Sir, we only serve drinks at certain times. You'll have to wait." Keanu was surprised by how rude she was. He wasn't used to people treating him like that, especially someone who worked in customer service. But he didn't argue. All right," he said with a gentle nod. Olivia didn't say anything else. She just turned and walked away. Keanu sighed and let it go. It wasn't a big deal. Maybe she was just having a bad day. But what he didn't know was that this was only the beginning. Olivia had no idea who she had just been rude to. And by the end of this flight, she was about to find out. After the plane took off and was flying high in the sky, the flight attendants started handing out food and drinks. Keanu patiently waited for his turn. But when Olivia reached his seat, she didn't even look at him. She just walked past him without giving him anything. Keanu frowned a little but didn't say anything. Maybe it was a mistake. But then he noticed something. Olivia was being extra nice to the fancy-looking business people. She smiled at them, laughed at their jokes, and gave them drinks right away. Keanu realized it wasn't a mistake. She was ignoring him on purpose. He didn't know why. Maybe she thought he didn't belong in business class. Maybe she thought he was just an ordinary man who got lucky. Whatever the reason, she had already decided he wasn't important. A few minutes later, another flight attendant, a young man named Ethan, walked by. Keanu asked him, "Hey, could I get a drink, please?" Ethan smiled politely. "Of course, sir. I'll bring it right away." But before Ethan could leave, Olivia appeared out of nowhere. She looked annoyed. "This passenger didn't pay for premium service," she snapped. "He can wait." Ethan looked confused. But he's in business class?" "Just move on," Olivia ordered. Keanu lifted his eyebrows but stayed quiet. He could have told her who he was. He could have told her that he was one of the most famous actors in the world. But Keanu wasn't the kind of man who demanded respect. He was the kind of man who let his actions speak. And soon enough, Olivia was about to realize her mistake. The flight continued as normal. Keanu stayed quiet, watching how Olivia treated different people. She smiled at the rich businessmen. She was extra kind to people who looked important. But when it came to economy class passengers, older people, or anyone she thought wasn't special, she barely paid them any attention. What Olivia didn't know was that Keanu Reeves wasn't just another passenger. He was actually one of the silent owners of Skyway Airlines. For years, he had been a secret investor helping the company grow. But he never bragged about it. He never asked for special treatment. But today he was going to use his position to teach Olivia an important lesson. As the plane got closer to landing, the head flight attendant, a woman named Rachel, picked up the microphone. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to thank you for flying with Skyway Airlines. We hope you had a wonderful flight. And as a special surprise, we have a very important guest on board today." Olivia wasn't paying attention until she heard the next words. "Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Keanu Reeves, one of the silent owners of this airline and a man whose generosity has helped many people around the world." Silence. Then whispers. Passengers gasped, looking around in shock. Olivia froze. Her face turned pale. "Keanu Reeves?" She turned her head slowly, heart pounding. And there he was, sitting quietly in his seat, looking straight at her. He didn't look angry. He didn't look smug. He just gave her a calm, polite smile. Olivia wanted to disappear. The plane finally landed in New York. Olivia's hands trembled as she finished her last tasks. She had made a terrible mistake. She had treated a paying customer poorly. She had ignored and disrespected him, just because she thought he wasn't important. And now she knew the truth. Keanu Reeves wasn't just a passenger. He was her boss. And now she had to face the consequences. Would she be fired? Would Keanu make a complaint about her? She had no idea. But one thing was certain. She would never treat another person unfairly again. As the last passengers got off the plane, Olivia felt a tap on her shoulder. It was her supervisor, Rachel. "Olivia," Rachel said, handing her a small slip of paper. "Mr. Reeves has asked to see you in the VIP lounge before he leaves." Olivia's stomach twisted in fear. What did he want? Would he humiliate her? Fire her? She had no choice. She had to go. Olivia nervously walked into the VIP lounge. Keanu was sitting alone in a quiet corner, sipping coffee. She took a deep breath and walked over. "Mr. Reeves," she started, her voice shaking. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I treated you unfairly, and I was completely unprofessional." Keanu set his cup down and looked at her. "Olivia," he said gently, "I'm not mad at you." Olivia's eyes widened. "You're not?" Keanu shook his head. "No, I don't hold grudges. But I do believe in teaching lessons." Olivia swallowed hard and nodded. "I understand. I know I was wrong." Keanu studied her for a moment. "Tell me," he asked, "why did you ignore my request for a drink?" Olivia hesitated. Then she sighed. I made an assumption about you." Keanu raised an eyebrow. "Based on what?" She felt her face turn red. "Based on how you looked," she admitted. "You didn't act like the other business class passengers. You didn't seem important." Keanu let her words sit in the air for a moment. Then he said, "You judged me because you thought I wasn't worth your time." Olivia nodded, feeling ashamed. "Yes, and I regret it deeply." Keanu smiled kindly. "Just remember, Olivia, everyone deserves respect. Not just the ones you think are important." And Olivia knew she would never make that mistake again. Keanu took a deep breath and leaned back in his chair. He looked at Olivia and said, "You know, Olivia, I have always tried to be kind to everyone, because we never know what someone is going through." He looked at her seriously. "The way you treated me. Imagine if I wasn't rich. Imagine if I was just a normal man who had saved up for a long time to buy a seat in business class. How would I have felt if you treated me like that?" Olivia lowered her head, feeling bad about what she had done. She whispered, "I would have made that person feel like they didn't belong." Keanu nodded. "Exactly. And that's why I wanted to talk to you. Not to punish you, but to help you understand that kindness should never be for only some people. It should be for everyone." Olivia felt tears in her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. "I promise," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "I will never treat a passenger that way again. Ever." Keanu smiled kindly. "Good. That's all I wanted from you. A promise to be better." Olivia nodded, feeling both lighter and stronger. She had expected to be punished. But instead she had been given something else, a second chance. Just as she was about to leave, Keanu spoke again. "Olivia," he said, making her stop and turn around. "Yes?" she asked. Keanu leaned forward. "How long have you been a flight attendant?" 6 years, Olivia answered. "And do you enjoy it?" he asked. Olivia hesitated before replying. "I do, but sometimes I feel like I'm just doing the same thing over and over. Like I could be doing something more, something that really makes a difference." Keanu nodded thoughtfully. "What if I told you there's a program for flight attendants who want to grow in their careers?" Olivia's eyes widened in surprise. "What?" Keanu smiled. "Skyway Airlines has a mentorship program. It helps flight attendants learn new skills and become leaders. I think you have a lot of potential. You just need to see things from a new perspective." Olivia's heart started beating faster. Are you serious?" "Completely," Keanu said. "But only if you're really ready to change and prove that you've learned from this experience." Olivia's hands shook a little, but not because she was scared. This time it was because she was hopeful. "I won't let you down," she said firmly. Keanu grinned. "Then I look forward to seeing what you can do." The next morning, Olivia woke up early. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling of her small apartment. Her mind was still spinning from what had happened the night before. Usually, after a long flight, she would complain about rude passengers, relax with a glass of wine, and get ready for another tiring day at work. But today was different. She had stepped onto that plane thinking she knew everything about her job. But then Keanu Reeves, one of the most famous movie stars in the world, and secretly part owner of her airline, had taught her an important lesson. She had been given a second chance, and she wasn't going to waste it. Olivia got out of bed, grabbed a notebook, and started making a list. Find out more about the leadership program Keanu told her about. Be kinder to passengers and treat everyone with respect. Apologize to her co-workers, especially Ethan, for how she had treated him. Prove to herself that she could be a better person. For the first time in years, Olivia felt like her job had meaning. It wasn't just about serving drinks on a plane. It was about making a difference. And she had Keanu to thank for that. 2 days later, Olivia arrived at Skyway Airlines headquarters. She was assigned to a new flight from New York to London. As she walked into the crew lounge, she saw Ethan, the flight attendant she had been rude to when he tried to help Keanu. Taking a deep breath, she walked up to him. "Hey, Ethan," she said softly. Ethan looked up, surprised. "Olivia?" She hesitated for a moment, then said, "I owe you an apology." Ethan's eyes widened. "I wasn't fair to you on that last flight," Olivia admitted. "You were just doing your job and I treated you like I was better than you. I was wrong." Ethan blinked, then smiled. "Wow, I didn't expect that." Olivia smiled back. "Neither did I. But I'm trying to change. No more acting like I'm the queen of the skies." Ethan laughed. "Well, in that case, apology accepted." Olivia felt like a huge weight had been lifted from her chest. She had taken the first step and it felt good. As the crew got ready for takeoff, she made a promise to herself. This flight, she was going to do everything differently. At first, the flight went smoothly. Olivia greeted every passenger with a warm smile. For the first time, she really noticed them, not just the rich business people but also the nervous first-time flyers, the tired moms with kids, and the older passengers who needed extra help. Everything was going great, until she met the man in seat 4B. He was exactly the kind of passenger she used to favor. Rich, wearing a fancy suit and acting important. As soon as he sat down, he snapped his fingers at Ethan. "Where's my champagne?" he demanded. Ethan opened his mouth to answer, but the man kept going. "And bring me something to eat." The airport food was terrible. Olivia watched, feeling a strange sense of déjà vu. This was exactly how she had acted before Keanu had humbled her. Before Ethan could reply, the man snapped, "Hurry up." Ethan looked uncomfortable and rushed to get what the man wanted. Olivia stepped forward. She put on a calm but firm smile. "Sir, I understand that you'd like some champagne. But we kindly ask that you wait until we start our official service round." The man glared at her. "Do you know who I am?" Olivia didn't flinch. "Yes, sir. I know you're an important passenger, and we are happy to have you here. But we believe in treating every passenger equally." The man's face twitched with irritation, but something in Olivia's voice made him pause. After a moment, he sighed and leaned back in his seat. "Fine. Just don't take forever." Olivia smiled. "Of course, sir." As she walked away, Ethan mouthed "thank you" behind the man's back. And for the first time, Olivia truly understood what being a leader meant. It wasn't about power. It wasn't about status. It was about knowing when to be firm, when to be kind, and making sure that everyone felt respected. Keanu had taught her that. Now she was putting it into action. At the end of the flight, just as Olivia finished her final safety check, her supervisor, Rachel, walked up to her. "You did really well today," Rachel said. Olivia smiled. "Thanks. I'm trying." Rachel handed her an envelope. "Looks like someone noticed." Olivia blinked. "What's this?" Rachel smirked. "An invitation from the CEO of Skyway Airlines. He wants to meet you." Olivia's heart skipped a beat. This was big. This wasn't just about fixing a mistake anymore. It was about something bigger. And she had a feeling Keanu had something to do with it. 2 days later, Olivia stood in a sleek office in New York, facing Samuel Whitmore, the CEO of Skyway Airlines. He was an older man with a sharp but kind gaze. "Olivia," he said warmly, "I've heard some interesting things about you." Olivia swallowed nervously. Samuel chuckled. "Relax. I called you here because I wanted to hear your side of the story. Mr. Reeves spoke very highly of you." Olivia's eyes widened. "He did?" Samuel nodded. "He told me about your change of heart. He said you took responsibility for your actions and tried to do better. That's rare." Olivia took a deep breath. I just want to be better." Samuel studied her, then smiled. "How would you like to join our management training program?" Olivia's heart raced. This was it. A new chapter. And she was ready. Olivia took a deep breath. She had spent many years working as a flight attendant, thinking she would never get a chance to do anything more. But now she has been given an opportunity to become a leader. The second chance. And she was not going to waste it. Yes, she said with a big happy smile. I'd love that. Olivia stood in front of the tall, shiny building of Skyway Airlines corporate headquarters in New York City. She held tightly onto the special invitation letter she had received just a few days ago. This was a huge moment for her. She felt nervous, but also for the first time in years she felt excited. Not long ago she had almost lost her job. She had been treating passengers unfairly, being nicer to some while ignoring others. But then Elena Monroe had come into her life, not just as a passenger on one of her flights but as a mentor. Instead of punishing her, Elena had shown her kindness. And now, because of that, Olivia was standing here, ready to change her life. She took a deep breath, stood up straight, and walked inside. Inside, a friendly lady at the front desk smiled at her. Good morning. You must be Olivia Hartman, she said. You're here for the Skyway Leadership Development Program, right? Olivia nodded. That's me. Right this way. The receptionist led her to the elevator. Olivia stepped in, her heart beating fast. She had never been to the top floors before. Those were for the big bosses of the airline. Now she was going there as someone important. When the elevator doors opened, she walked into a big conference room. Inside, 6 other people were already sitting. Some were flight attendants like her, some worked on the ground, and some were junior managers. They all looked smart, confident, and ready for this next step in their careers. Olivia suddenly felt small. What am I doing here? She thought. These people probably deserve this more than I do. But before she could get lost in her worries, she heard a familiar voice. Olivia, welcome. She turned, and there he was. Keanu Reeves. Olivia's eyes widened. Keanu? I mean Mr. Reeves? The others turned too, surprised to see a famous movie star in the room. Keanu chuckled. Keanu is fine. I just wanted to check in before we start. He looked around the room and smiled. Congratulations to all of you for making it here, he said. This program isn't about titles or experience. It's about learning how to be a real leader. And real leaders don't just boss people around. They help others and treat everyone with kindness. Olivia felt a little bit of hope grow inside her. Maybe she did deserve to be here. This program is about more than just getting promoted, Keanu continued. It's about understanding people, helping others, and being kind, even when no one is watching. That's what real leadership is. Olivia shivered. This was exactly what she had done wrong before. But now she had the chance to fix it. Olivia thought they were going to spend the first day in a classroom, listening to long speeches about rules and policies. But she was wrong. Instead, they were given an assignment. You will all work on a flight, said Mr. Whitmore, a senior airline executive. But this time you won't be in charge. You will work in economy class as regular flight attendants. Your job is to listen, watch, and understand what it feels like to be in their shoes. Olivia gulped. She had spent years thinking that economy passengers weren't as important as the rich people in first class. She had rushed past them, barely paying attention. Now she was about to see things differently. Olivia and the other trainees boarded a busy flight to London. The plane was full and everyone was tired. Olivia's job was to serve food, help passengers, and make sure they were comfortable. At first, she just went through the motions, pouring coffee, handing out snacks, and answering questions. But then something changed. She saw a tired old woman struggling to lift her bag. She helped her. She saw a nervous young student flying alone for the first time. She comforted him. She saw a mother with a crying baby, exhausted and overwhelmed. She reassured her. And for the first time in her life, Olivia truly understood. These people weren't just passengers. They were people with stories, struggles, and worries. And sometimes, a little kindness was all they needed. Olivia had always thought that first-class passengers were the most important. But now she knew everyone mattered. Just when Olivia was starting to feel proud of her progress, she faced a challenge. A flight attendant named Sophie was treating economy passengers badly, just like Olivia used to do. She ignored people's requests. She rolled her eyes when an old man asked for water. She rushed past passengers, acting as if she was too important to care. Olivia felt her stomach twist. That was me. For years, she had acted just like Sophie, thinking that only rich passengers mattered. She had 2 choices. Stay quiet, like others had done when she was behaving badly. Speak up and help Sophie change. Taking a deep breath, Olivia walked up to Sophie. Hey, she said kindly, pulling her aside. I know we're all tired, but can I give you some advice? Sophie sighed. What? Olivia hesitated, then spoke from the heart. Every person back here deserves the same respect as first-class passengers. I used to think differently and I was wrong. But when you start treating people with kindness, it changes everything. Sophie blinked. For a moment she said nothing. Then instead of arguing she let out a small sigh. All right, she muttered. I'll try. Olivia smiled. Maybe, just maybe, she had passed her first real leadership test. After the flight, Olivia checked her phone. There was a text from an unknown number. Keanu Reeves, heard you stood up for your passengers today. That's what real leadership looks like. Proud of you. Olivia stared at the message, her heart full of joy. This was more than just a new job. This was a new Olivia. Over the next few weeks, Olivia learned so much. She no longer saw herself as just a flight attendant. She saw herself as a leader, someone who could help others and make real changes. And then the biggest moment came. Olivia adjusted her navy blue blazer and looked at herself in the mirror. Today was a big day. She had been invited to a special meeting with the top leaders of the airline, including the CEO, Samuel Whitmore. A few months ago, she wouldn't have even been allowed in this room. But now she was expected to speak up, share ideas, and help make the airline better. As she walked into the big conference room, her heart pounded. Seated around the long, shiny table were the most powerful people in the airline industry. And then, in the corner, she saw him. Keanu Reeves. He leaned back in his chair, giving her a small, encouraging nod. Olivia took a deep breath. She was ready. Olivia's journey was just beginning. She had made mistakes. She had learned. And now, she was ready to become the leader she had always dreamed of being. Olivia took a deep breath and found her seat in the meeting room. The meeting started fast, with people talking about fancy new things for first-class and business-class passengers. They talked about making things better for rich travelers, adding more luxury, and working with big companies. But as Olivia listened, she felt something was missing. No one talked about economy passengers, the regular travelers who filled most of the seats on every plane. She had been one of them not long ago when she was training as a flight attendant. She saw how hard it was for economy passengers. The seats were small and tight, the food wasn't great, and the flight attendants were super busy. The people in the economy seemed tired and uncomfortable, but no one in this meeting cared about them. Olivia looked over at Keanu, who was watching her. It was like he was waiting to see what she would do. She took another deep breath. Then she spoke up. The room went quiet when Olivia started talking. "Excuse me," she said. Everyone turned to look at her. Samuel Whitmore, the CEO, raised an eyebrow. "Yes, Olivia?" Olivia felt a little nervous, but she kept going. "I noticed we're only talking about first-class and business-class passengers. But what about economy passengers? They make up most of our flights, but they don't get much attention." The executives exchanged glances, like they hadn't thought about this before. Olivia leaned forward. "I recently worked in economy and I saw how hard it is for passengers. The seats are too tight, the food isn't great, and many feel like they don't matter. But these people are important. They fill most of our planes. Why aren't we doing anything for them?" One man, Mr. Henry, sighed. "Olivia, I understand what you're saying, but economy passengers don't make as much money for us as first-class and business-class passengers. We have to focus on the ones who pay more." Olivia's jaw tightened. She wanted to argue, but before she could, someone else spoke up. Keanu Reeves, who had been quiet until now, sat up straighter. "With all due respect, Mr. Henry," he said, "that kind of thinking is why passengers leave and choose other airlines." The room froze. Olivia stared at Keanu, her heart racing. Keanu continued, his voice calm but strong. "Skyway Airlines promised great service for everyone, not just the rich. If we ignore economy passengers, we will lose their trust. And in the long run, that will hurt the company more than spending a little money to make them happy." Samuel Whitmore, the CEO, leaned forward, looking at Olivia and Keanu. "All right," he said. "Olivia, you seem to have some ideas. What do you suggest?" Olivia took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "We don't have to take anything away from first class or business class," she said. "But we can make small improvements for economy passengers. It won't cost a lot, but it will make a huge difference." She pulled out a folder and showed her plan. More comfortable seating, making small changes to give people just a little more space. Better food options, adding simple upgrades to meals so they aren't so plain. Training for flight attendants, making sure all passengers feel welcome and important. Loyalty perks for economy passengers, offering small rewards like a free checked bag for people who fly often. When she finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then, to her surprise, Samuel Whitmore smiled. "I like it," he said, "and I want to move forward with it." Olivia's eyes widened. The other executives looked surprised too. But Keanu just smirked like he had expected this all along. As the meeting ended, Samuel Whitmore turned to Olivia. "You have great leadership instincts, Olivia," he said. "Skyway Airlines needs people like you. So, I'm offering you a new job." Olivia held her breath. "I want you to join our corporate strategy team," he continued. "You'll focus on improving the experience for economy passengers." Olivia felt her heart pound. A few weeks ago, she was just a flight attendant, ignored by the company's leaders. Now she was being asked to help change the way the airline treated passengers. She glanced at Keanu, who gave her a knowing nod as if saying, "I told you so." Olivia smiled confidently. "I accept." A few days later, Olivia stood in front of the Skyway Airlines headquarters. The tall glass building looked shiny and important. She clutched her new employee badge. It said, Olivia Hartman, Corporate Strategy, Passenger Experience Division. She had never imagined herself here. Just a short time ago, she was a flight attendant. Now she was helping make big decisions. She stepped inside, reminding herself why she was here. This isn't about a fancy job. This is about change. And she was going to make sure no economy passenger ever felt ignored again. But not everyone was happy to see her. As she met her new team, Olivia could feel it, the coldness. The other employees barely looked at her. Some gave quick, fake smiles. Others just nodded and went back to work. She didn't have to be a genius to understand why. They didn't respect her. To them, she was just a flight attendant. She wasn't like them, someone with years of business experience. She could hear the whispers. She doesn't belong here. What does she know about strategy? This is just a PR stunt. Olivia kept her face calm. She had worked too hard to let their judgment shake her. But she knew one thing. She would have to fight to prove herself. 3 days later, Olivia attended her first big meeting. It was about the company's budget, how much money they would spend on improvements for passengers. She listened as executives talked about first-class and business-class upgrades. They wanted to build luxury lounges, offer fancy meals, and add special services for rich travelers. But once again, no one mentioned economy passengers. Olivia felt anger rise in her chest. She took a deep breath and raised her hand. The room went silent. Samuel Whitmore looked at her. "Olivia? You have something to add?" Olivia sat up straight. "Yes," she said. "I noticed we're only talking about premium passengers again. But economy passengers make up 75% of our revenue. Why are we ignoring them?" A man in his 50s sighed. "Olivia, high-paying customers bring in the most profit. That's where we should focus." Olivia tilted her head. "With all due respect, sir," she said, "that's old-fashioned thinking. Yes, first-class tickets cost more. But economy passengers fill most of our planes. If we don't take care of them, they'll choose another airline." Another executive chuckled. "So what, should we give them first-class treatment?" Olivia didn't blink. "No, but we should treat them like human beings." Silence. Even the skeptical executives were now listening. Samuel Whitmore tapped his pen on the table, thinking. Then he said, "Olivia, I want you to put together a full plan. Show us how we can do this without spending too much." Olivia nodded. "I'll have it ready in 1 week." Olivia worked day and night. She read reports, talked to passengers, and studied other airlines. She even called Keanu for advice. "You really believe in this, don't you?" he asked. "Yes," Olivia said. "Because I know what it's like to feel ignored." "Then fight for it," Keanu said. "Fight until they have no choice but to listen." And that's exactly what she did. A week later, Olivia stood in front of the boardroom. She gave her presentation showing data, solutions, and customer stories. When she finished, the room was silent. Then Samuel Whitmore smiled. "Olivia," he said, "this is one of the best proposals I've seen in years." He turned to the executives. "We're doing this." Olivia's heart raced. She had done it. She wasn't just a flight attendant anymore. She was a leader. And this was just the beginning. If you enjoyed this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more exciting stories filled with adventure, mystery, and unforgettable moments. Your support means the world. It keeps these stories coming and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.